Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Bobby. I hope you had a great weekend. All is wonderful here at the club at Horseshoe Bay. Before I get into today's lesson, which happens to be the first of two parts on maintaining your posture, an important fundamental that is key to every great player swing, I want to let you know that at the conclusion of this video, I have for you just another little presentation. Just stay tuned with it. And that is to answer the question that's been asked a couple of times since last week when I launched the Longer with Age series about how is it that some people seem to lose distance more than others, regardless of the fact they seem like the same physical specimen. They don't feel like they've lost their flexibility. And I put together a little presentation to show you why that may be happening to you more than you feel it should, and then what you can do to get it back. And so stick around for that. Let's get into this topic of maintaining your posture. This whole idea that I look for when it comes to maintaining your posture, and as I say, is the mark of every great player. I look from this angle, and if we can draw a line right on your tail end, all the best players in the world, but will tend to stay on that line throughout. You know, most people are yielding to the persuasion of those around them. Think more about their head, keep your head down. Your tail end's got to stay fixed in place because it represents the bottom of your axis. And so it's okay if your tail end goes deeper than that line, although rarely do I see that. Lee Trevino did it. That's actually a swing quality, a swing virtue. The majority of people go the other way. Their butt comes off of that line and they lose their posture in doing so. And you can just never really be that consistent if that is the swing habit with which you're maligned. And so what are we trying to do? Well, as I say, we want our tail end to stay more or less on that line throughout the entire golf swing. And if we do that, we can make the argument that we've maintained our posture. How do we do it then? What part of your body can you give attention to see to it that that happens? How do you stay in your posture? Because it's such a common failing and people struggle with it and struggle with it and struggle with it and can't do it. Their tail end just comes off that line. It has to do with the manner in which we shift our weight. Now, as you all know, and every student of the game knows, prior to impact, we need to have our weight on our left foot. This is the telling moment of the swing, and this is the telling moment that determines whether or not you lose your posture. It's how you get off this foot. If this leg goes to the toe, if the weight goes to the toe before turning, then you've lost your posture. If you go straight from here to your toe, then you've lost your posture. Look how that pushes everything forward. The better player tends to instead move to their arch first. Look what's happening now. My right leg is moving to my left. My legs are staying together. I can keep my tail end back and finally goes to the toe. There's never any space between these legs. And let's look at that for just a second. I've got Tiger swing on here. Look how Tiger definitely goes to the arch before going to the toe. Let's look at Fred Couples. No doubt about it. Definitely goes to the arch before finally going to the toe. Look at Luke Donald. Same exact thing. And this we can go on and on and on with. Most of your great players will discernibly go to the edge of the foot before finally going to the toe. And what that allows us to do is keep these legs close together so that things can turn quickly and things can turn efficiently and our tail end can stay back. Now, you might think of this as sort of like if you ever see a figure skater, when they really want to just stand there and churn in place, when they finally want to slow down, they take everything from this tight circle and just put their arms out, and by having something moving away from the axis, that slows them down right away. Well, the hips sort of work the same way. If we really want to turn them fast, just like the figure skater who got everything in tight, we want to have our hips in tight so that they can turn quickly. If you take this leg and you can see space in here, not only are you losing your posture, but you are mucking up your whole turn. You're not going to be able to rotate as fast because you've spread out that axis that was very tight and made it quite loose. So you're just never going to have near the velocity and near the turn power and the spin rate as you will if you keep your legs together. And so how does that look on a half swing? It looks like that. I go over to the edge of that foot. And on a full swing, everything is exactly the same. I want to keep my tail end on that line. And the way I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure this leg goes toward the other leg, not out here in front of it. I don't want space in there. I want this leg to go toward this leg. And if I do that, then I can be sure I've maintained my posture and also maximized the amount of strike that I can put on that golf ball. All right. And so those are the basics of posture. Try to see to it that your tail stays back by allowing, as you shift your weight, for your leg not to go out in front of the other leg, but instead beside it. And in doing so, you'll be right on your way to maintaining your posture. I want to thank you for tuning in. For those of you who'd like to join me for that short presentation, stay tuned. I got to tell you, I feel for you. If you're one of these guys, I hear this all the time. You know, me and old Joe, we've been playing golf for 40 years together, and we're both 70 now. And we've been playing since we were 30, and we both used to bomb it out there. You know, our balls would go 250 yards and then start rising, man. But here's the deal. Joe's still hitting it almost as far as we did way back when, and I've lost 70 yards. What can be the difference? And why is it that a person who feels like they are doomed to a permanent status among the demoralized, how you can get it back? That's what I want to show you. And to give you an idea, in taking broad strokes, I want you to know that the difference is the ratio of body to arm swing that a person has going into their golfing life. All right, and let's take it way back to the beginning. Let's say you got a person who's 30 years old, Joe and whoever's telling this story, whoever's commiserating about this. Say that they are 40% body. This is the ratio of body to arm swing, but 60% arms. When you're young and supple around the waistline, this won't rear its ugly head. This problem won't show itself as readily. Why? Because if you have a strong pair of forearms, and at least you're supple enough around the waistline to maybe not use the hips the best they can be used, but at least get them out of the way so the forearms can work, you might hit the ball 265 yards. The problem hasn't presented itself yet. But here's the thing. As the years go by, and you get a few more years going through your belt, you are going to sense a little bit of a distance loss, a loss of distance. And the question is, how do you respond to it? Well, keep in mind that this person derives the preponderance of their golf swing. The engine in the golf swing that does the most would be the arm engine. And so when they sense a little bit of a decline, what do? They call upon more arms, now it's 30-70, to the exclusion of more body. And so the problem was made worse by the way they responded to it. They used even more arms and less body, and now they're down to 230 yards. And this is what I see quite frequently. You just lost 35 yards. But still, this doesn't stand out yet because, hey, 230 yards, that's not too bad. But then, as the years go by, you start to sense a little bit more decline, and what do? You try to up even more that engine that you've come to rely on. Now you're 20-80, and golf seems almost impossible. Now you're hitting at 190 yards. Your buddy Joe, who used to only hit it as far as you, now is hitting at 75 yards more, and you just can't seem to understand why, and golf at that point is painful and punishing. Now, let's talk about the other way, the body swing. Now, you may have noticed that I started at age 30 down here in the red. By the way, this guy here is in the red. We're going in the black. We want to be in positive numbers. Up here, I started at age 20. Why? Because most of your body swingers, unless they've gone through a little course like I'm instilling into you with this Longer with Age series, unless they've made a concerted effort to learn to swing with the body, most people who start as an adult swing mostly with their arms. People who start young naturally start with their body. Why? Because when you're 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, that club feels so heavy that you simply can't swing it with any other way than to maneuver it with your body. The golf swing for a body swinger starts in the middle portion of the body and works out to the extremities. The arm swinger swings with mostly just the extremities. And so when you got a guy who's 20 years old, has been playing since he was 10 or 12, and he's using 90% body, 10% arms, well, he's probably going to carry it out there 280 yards. All right? But here's the difference. And by the way, that's not much difference from the guy who was hitting a 265 at age 30. Not much difference. Not much difference. The difference is what happens in the decline. 20 years later, this person, sensing they're losing a little bit, doesn't turn on more arms. If anything, they try to use more body, but they're already using 90%, so it doesn't matter. So they might lose 5 yards. All right? Not a big price to pay. And then at age 70, again, you're using the body. 90-10, and they hit it 240. And this person can still play some good golf because if they're playing the appropriate tees, well, then they're still getting on par 5s and 2, and maybe they used to be a +1 or a +2 handicap. Now they're a 2 or a 3, and I can think of some guys at Horseshoe Bay that fall into this category right now. They hit the ball great, not as well as they once did, but again, they're not experiencing the utter rout of losing 75 yards. They've only lost 40 of what was 280, and so the price is not near as high to pay. And let me point out one other thing about this. As I said before, it's not all or nothing. If we can take the person in week 1 of this Longer with Age series from 20-80 just to 30-70, they're still not out of the woods yet, but they're doing better. You're going to pick up 5 or 10 yards. You're not going to go straight from 20-80 to 80-20 or to 90-10. That's just not going to happen. Your body has a memory of doing things a certain way, and all we can do is chip away at it. But if in week 1 we can get you from wherever you are up another 10% of body and down another 10% in arms, then you're going to be hitting the ball farther. And hopefully you'll be encouraged by that to go, hey, look, I still got some room to make. Maybe in week 2, we get you to 50-50. Once you get over the hump, once you have the majority of your power that you feel coming from your body and less from your arms, now you're going to make a rapid progression to as far as you can go within the limits of your own human mechanism. We're all limited, some more so, some less so. We can't help that, but what we can do is maximize what we have. I'm going to look forward to seeing you in week 1. If I can do anything for you, you let me know.